The 30th of the 12th, 2024. The time is 8 minutes past 8, and we've got to talk about some very F1 centric threads because there are many of them at which we need to pull. Helmut Marko has chimed in on Antonelli, talking about the dangers of putting such a young buck, a hungry young lion, in at the deep end at that Mercedes. Boys and girls from Brackley and Brixworth next year. Surely you want to do like Toto did to George, put him in a Williams first, give him less of a stay of execution, less pressure, argues Marko. Will get to that. Hakkinen has chimed in on Max Verstappen's tenure last year, saying that it was amazing that he managed to get it done with as near as makes no difference, no teammate to back him up, zero rear gunner, no wingman, by dint of Sergio Checo Perez's not insubstantial underperformance. So too Christian Horner has chimed in on Fernando Alonso, talking about the multitudinous of occasions when he tried to sign him as a Red Bull racing driver, sliding doors settings, oh the humanity. So too Lando and Norris has given all the other 9 teams pause for thought, talking about McLaren's Achilles heel as far as its car. We all thought that they had the quickest machine last year, but there is still apparently room for improvement. We'll talk about Lewis Hamilton as well, because Toto, the boy who cried wolf, has chimed in saying that that door is never closed, that there are still many adventures upon which they might still embark. So too Christian Horner, talking about Verstappen and Lando and their enduring friendship or lack thereof. Let's address Horner and Alonso in the first instance, because this sounds like this was what could have been. This was exactly what Fernando El Plan Alonso needed in 2008, when on the back of a disastrous campaign at McLaren in 2007. He just needed himself a decent team, a team going in the right direction. Christian Horner has chimed in on this, saying that he did his very best, his damnedest even, in conjunction with one Adrian Newey, to sign the Spaniard, the man from Oviedo, Asturias. He said in 2011, we also tried to sign him. We had a catch up with him at the airport at Spa. What is going on here? He says, I think that was around 2011, 2012. But again, we came across Ferrari. Once again, however, a collaboration did not materialise. In 2008, he says, of his interaction with Fernando Alonso. Again, there were many meetings, many negotiations. They wanted to give him a 2-year contract. Fernando El Plan only wanted a 1-year. Indeed, on that occasion, that was the only stumbling block. Oh, the humanity. Can you even imagine if Fernando had ended up at Red Bull, how many championships he would have there? Now still a 2-time champion, 2005 and 06. How many would he have had then? At least another 4, you would argue. If Sebastian Vettel could have won all of those, then surely Fernando would have too. Oh, the humanity. For the avoidance of doubt, F1 is cutthroat, sliding doors settings, a piranha's tank. And even if you're as good as Fernando Alonso, man who vanquished, sent into retirement one Michael Schumacher, Reagan-Meister, Red Baron settings, then of course he's going to get techie for you. If that's how good you were once upon a time and you only won 2 championships because you couldn't get yourself a decent team around you nor a decent machine underneath you, then I mean, bloody Nora, anybody can fall foul to poor decision making in the F. So too, let's talk about Lando. Lando's chimed in on the handling dynamic of his papaya-coloured car. Lest we forget, at the end of last year, this season just gone, they had the quickest car now. That's what I thought at least. But Lando Norris has chimed in on the weaknesses of that car and how they can improve it going forward to Motorsport Week. Here's what he had to say. It's been a complaint of mine for the last 6 years, and again we've still not been able to iron it out and get enough out of the car. He's talking about the front end limitation. He says some tracks are more limited or certain things. These issues don't arrive, but we've always been one of the worst teams for front graining. When we do our front graining, we're not the quickest car, but as soon as front graining is gone, we have a car that's quick enough, aka one of the quickest, if not the quickest on the grid. When you can manage it to a certain extent, we can survive. Today we couldn't manage it at all. So Lando Norris is talking about them making improvements. This is going to be a story that's going to run into 2 and 2.5. Who can extrapolate for the best out of their car, continue to develop, continue to bark at the right design philosophy tree. We've spoken about Ferrari already, changing changing the suspension settings or the pull rod even. They've for the longest time had push and push front and rear. Now they'll go for a cheeky pull and push. It's going to get techie. They're converging on the mean, and so too McLaren need to. Scary to think that they can improve if they mitigate outfall. No trend to zero, the front graining. Lando and Norris says that they still have a ways to go to perfect that car. On the other side of the fence, you have the bulls that are red. Pierre Vacher saying, well, I don't know if we can improve the car. You saw Adrian Newey at the livery launch last year, or this year even, 2024, saying we might have topped out with this. Hence why we had to do such a drastic thing, so that we were barking up a design philosophy tree that had higher yield potential. This is going to get techie, ladies and gentlemen, going into 2025. I'm telling you, I cannot wait. Oh, and by the way, Helmut Marko has chimed in on Andrea Kimi Antonelli. It's rookie season next year, isn't it? A gazillion of them kicking off. It's Jack Doohan, it's Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Who else? Ollie Behrman. It's bloody Liam Lawson, if indeed you can call him a rookie still. So too, Gabriel Bartolotto. It's rookie aplenty. And again, we've talked about this before, right? That a couple of years ago, it was always tried and tested hands. Give that seat to a Kevin Magnussen or a Nico Hulkenberg. Now, though, by dint of the fortuitous circumstances surrounding Ollie Behrman, deputising indeed for Carlos Sainz Jr. this year in nothing less than a Scuderia Ferrari, the red car. And he looked good, didn't he? He got it done. Now, all of a sudden, people are aware more acutely than ever of the opportunity cost of not putting a young, hungry lion in the car. Helmut Marko, though, said that Mercedes are running a very dangerous race, that Kimi Antonelli is a risk. That, yeah, of course, we took a similar risk with Max, says Helmut, who was even younger when he got into an F1 car in the first instance, but he wasn't in our top team. He, in 2015-16, was at Toro Rosso, and for that reason, there was much less pressure on him then. Techie, eh? I always thought it was a right decision to put Andrea Kimi Antonelli in the car, knowing Toto the boy who cried wolf, desperately not wanting to repeat the mistakes of Christmas past. The reason why he didn't manage to get his hands on Max Verstappen in 2015 was because he couldn't offer him what Red Bull could, a seat in Formula One. Jos Verstappen was always super keen to get him in a car, understanding that an F1 seat is, you gain one as a function of your momentum, being good at the right time. And again, why would you have a Max Verstappen if indeed he could be the next one lingering around in feeder formula? It doesn't make sense. Give him a seat at the big team. And if indeed you have that option, as Helmut Marko provided, then Max was always going to take it. Verstappen clan were always going to take it. Raymond Vermeulen was always going to advocate for it. Toto Wolff not seeking, not keen to repeat the mistakes of Christmas past. Again, maybe he's been too risk seeking, not risk averse enough. Surely, if you had the opportunity to put Kimi Antonelli in a Williams and let him cut his teeth there, surely it makes sense. Maybe Toto the boy who cried wolf needs to chew his food before he swallows. Helmut Marko continues, if Antonelli skillfully exploits his strengths next year and his speed, which is clearly there on the back of his performance in FP1 at the Italian Grand Prix this year, if he develops slowly, he could become a danger. If he tries to force it, however, then his career could be in danger. Oh, the humanity. You guys let me know what you think about Kimi Antonelli. Clearly there is pace, but in conjunction with that, of course, will come peril. As per the blitzkrieg speed that he showed through Ascari chicane, the penultimate turn at the Italian Grand Prix FP1, only to then go and yeet it into the barrier around Parabolica, the outside of. It's a double-edged sword, this. Being quick and lacking in experience ultimately sometimes yields to negative results. It's going to get techie. Oh, by the way, Mika Hakkinen had this to say, it feels like we're all diatribing still for 2024, trying to understand in real time Maximilian Verstappen's performance. Some saying on this side of the fence that it was one of the best that he's ever put in 2021 settings there or thereabouts. Some saying, well, Max was always going to win because Lando and Norris didn't have the minerals, was too undercooked to take it to Max Verstappen over the course of a 24 race season. It's techie, this. I feel like this argument and this mode of discourse will run and run until Lando and Norris proves me and we and them otherwise. Here's what Mika Hakkinen had to say, though. And again, espousing praise, expounding for the not insubstantial performance that Maximilian Verstappen put in this year just gone, saying as follows: there's no way the driver can win races, win a championship, unless you have a strong team, you have a strong teammate. Maximilian Verstappen, for the avoidance of doubt, this year, 2024, had neither one of those. Circumstances were chaotic, were they not? Misconduct date, PA gate, beef between his team principal and his father. And it's almost like you put together those performances par excellence because of the aforementioned circumstances, notwithstanding. Mika Hakkinen, two-time champion, continues how Max was able to do that, to get those kind of results when his teammates, Checo Perez, is not able to give any, I don't want to say any kind of support, but we all know, and I think everybody's been talking about it all year, about his performance. Checo Perez, for the avoidance of doubt, agrees, seconded by Mika Hakkinen. His performance was lacking all season. And again, the fact that Max was able to get his head down and win a World Drivers' Championship with zero wingman or rear gunner help is astounding, some might say. Oh, and by the way, Toto, the boy who cried wolf, has chimed in. What's going on, Missile Rest? Benzie, Jay, we're up in here talking back and forth. It's going to get chaotic over the next couple of weeks, so stick with me. Listen to this. Toto's chimed in, talking about Lewis Hamilton, saying that the door is still open if indeed Lewis, post his driving career, wants to come back and renew the relationship, the love affair and or bromance with Mercedes and Toto, the boy who cried wolf. Here's what he had to say. I think Lewis has decided to do something else for the last part of his career, which I understand, or I can understand, but he's always going to be part of the Mercedes family and always welcome. What's he talking about? You didn't give him an ambassadorial role. You couldn't give him the multi-year contract. You couldn't even provide him with a car. What are we talking about after the fact? Why does Toto have to be wise? You know what I mean? After the event. Surely, if you hold Lewis Hamilton, as so many Sir Lewis Hamilton fans around the world will say, if you hold Lewis Hamilton that dear and near to your heart, in that highly in esteem, then you give that fella what you want. He continues. He talks about Niki Lauda, saying that Niki deserves much more credit for getting Lewis to the team in the first place. Lest we forget, Eddie Jordan broke the news once upon a time, 2012-13 settings, that Lewis Hamilton had broken contract with McLaren and agreed to go over to Mercedes. It was shocking news at the time. Eddie Jordan said recently on the Formula for Success podcast that the only reason why he was able to come to that news is because Niki Lauda, by dint of his association with Mercedes, wasn't able to get into the McLaren motorhome. Therefore, he sent one Eddie Jordan, one-time team principal of the team that bear his name. It's chaos, this. I don't know what to make of Toto, the boy who cried wolf, talking about this now. It feels like it's too soon, that the wounds aren't healed as far as Lewis Hamilton's departure. Now, Lewis will always say, not explicitly, but I think if you asked him and he was in a truth-saying mood, I think he would tell you that if he got all the things that he want, a multi-year deal, that he didn't necessarily want to leave Mercedes, but they forced his hand. Per the bloody book, Toto Wolff has said the same thing, right? That he wanted to ensure himself. He didn't want to have to broker the news to Lewis Hamilton that he was past his prime. You recall the quotes that mental sharpness is all important as far as Formula One's concerned. And that won't sit well with Lewis Hamilton fans around the world, notwithstanding the fact that Lewis Hamilton is moving on to pastures anew, techie things. Will says that Hamilton will always be welcome at Mercedes, opening the door to a role within the team when his driving career ends. He says there is no, and I quote, there is no such thing, says Toto Wolff, to an end in the relationship that Mercedes has with Lewis Hamilton. Neither what we have as a team, nor I and Susie Wolff personally. On the contrary, mate, what could have been? Act, Ben. Everybody can be a genius, a Monday morning quarterback. 2020 is what hindsight is each and every single time. And that won't sit well here in Toto. The boy who cried will say that after the fact, particularly on the back of his comments, that the mental sharpness is currency in Formula One. What's he doing? What is he doing? Forgive me for going scorched earth, pseudo scorched earth ever so slightly, but bloody Nora, Toto, what are we doing? Oh, and by the way, Christian Horner's chimed in again on the relationship between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, a story that will continue to run and ensue until 2025. Why? Well, because Lando Norris is currently favourite for the Drivers' Championship. How? Surely not. That doesn't make sense. 33.33% of the time is how much the forensic accountants, aka bookmakers, have Lando Norris winning. If you run the Drivers' Championship under these circumstances 100 times, that's material, is it? That is material. I'm not sure that they've got that right. I feel like there's a transposition error in there somewhere. Surely not. Bearing in mind, we just saw that Max Verstappen won this season with a car for the most part, particularly in H2 and Q4, that wasn't ostensibly the quickest machinery. Yeah, of course, it feels like McLaren are going to go into 2025 with the quicker set of wheels. But what does that mean? Even with the quicker set of wheels, this year Lando couldn't beat one Maximilian Verstappen. What does that mean? I don't know. If past this prologue, I think you'd be a fool to bet against Max Verstappen. You guys know already, that's the rules of the channel as at the 30th of the 12th, 2024. But I digress. Christian Horner had this to say on TalkSport not too many moons ago. He said that Max has other friendships, talking of course about the relationship between Lando. For table setting, Lando and Max have travelled to and from Grand Prix weekends on Maximilian Verstappen's own private jet. PJ settings. I'm not sure if I was Lando. If I were Lando Norris, I'm not sure that I'd want to do that. If indeed all I wanted to do was to win Drivers' Championship. This harps back to the argument that we've been having over the past couple of months. The question, a non-rhetorical one, is whether Lando Norris is prepared to pay the tax requisite to win a championship. You can't be friends with the other 19, surely. Surely they cut off all media. Nico Rosberg has told you this. Cut the bloody expectation pressure doom loop that you keep feeding into, saying things post the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, such as next year will be my year. Why would you do that if indeed there is lap time insatiating, no appeasing, availing yourself of any expectation and or pressure going forward? On that, Christian Horner's had to say this: the relationship between his charge Max Verstappen, 4 soon to be 5-time champions some say, and Lando Norris. Max has other friendships in Formula 1. Lando is a good pal of his. He continues, however, they've travelled to many places, but inevitably, and here's where it gets techier than techie things, that gets put under pressure when you're competing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the crux. How can me and you want the same thing and be friends? Especially if we've lived our whole lives with a view to get to the top of that World Drivers' Championship mountaintop. How? This makes no sense. It's counterintuitive, unproductive, absolutely not progressive for me to be friends with the dude who over the past 4 years has been taking my lunch. He has what Lando Norris wants. So how can those two be friends? Yeah, Max Verstappen can, but he's the champion though. Am I missing something, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury? Potentially. They've travelled to many races, says Horner, but inevitably that gets put under pressure. Their relationship gets put under pressure when they're competing. If it's a heavyweight boxer, Tyson Fury, is he going to be mates with an appointment before the bout, with an opponent even before the bout? Maybe after the fight, but certainly not in the build up to it. There is Christian Horner putting Lando Norris on game. Do you know what I mean? Why are you even trying to be friends? Well, I've already answered the question, haven't I? Surely, I don't think Lando Norris, as at December 2024, is willing to pay the tax requisite necessary to win him a season over 24 races, not with a Max Verstappen in it, and not with a fire-breathing dragon in Charles Leclerc in it, and definitely not with a fire-breathing 39, soon-to-be 40-year-old fire-breathing dragon called Lewis Hamilton. I say again, for the avoidance of doubt, to win a championship, if you really, to quote Christian Horner, if you really want to get something, you will do anything in your powers to get that thing. Lando Norris wants to listen to what Christian Horner's saying. He's putting him on game in real time. Lando Norris, your move, sir,